Welcome to the dark side of YouTube, where the depths of madness never cease. These chills will run deep. The whispers will never subside. This is the Nightmare Archives. Teddy's Toy Workshop. It all started with a children's show. James had seen the title Teddy's Toy Workshop pop up on his streaming service a few times, but hadn't paid it much attention. With a name like that, it seemed innocent, maybe even a bit outdated. But with winter approaching and more time spent indoors, he thought it couldn't hurt to try something new for his son Evan. Evan was immediately hooked. The show's star, a life-size teddy bear with a cheerful smile and soft voice, was somehow endearing and comforting at the same time.
"Look, Daddy! Teddy's fixing the toys!"
Evan giggled as he watched the bear carefully sew a patch onto a stuffed bunny. And James thought it was perfect. A little retro, sure, but the simple, slow-paced lessons on sharing and being kind felt wholesome. And in a world of fast cartoons and overstimulation, Teddy's Toy Workshop was a breath of fresh air. But then, about a week later, James overheard something odd. He was in the kitchen preparing dinner. While the show played in the background, Teddy's gentle voice was murmuring along as usual when James heard him say something strange. "Everyone can be fixed, if you just listen to me." The words were slow and deliberate, and for some reason they made James' skin crawl. He walked into the living room, intending to ask Evan what Teddy was talking about, but Evan just sat there staring at the screen, wide-eyed.
"Everything okay, buddy?"
James asked, ruffling his son's hair. Evan looked up and nodded.
"Yeah, Daddy. Teddy's just helping. He's really nice."
James nodded slowly, but couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Later that night, he looked up Teddy's Toy Workshop online. Surprisingly, there wasn't much information about it. No articles, no reviews, nothing except an old forum with a few obscure posts. He clicked on one titled, "Anyone else remember Teddy's Toy Workshop?" The replies were strange. Users talked about vague, uncomfortable memories of watching the show as children. Some claimed it made them feel uneasy, without knowing why, while others said their parents had eventually banned them from watching it. Then one post buried near the bottom caught his attention. "Do not let your children watch episode 9. You have been warned." Episode 9. He hadn't seen it yet, but his curiosity grew. He returned to the living room, picking up the remote to scroll through the episodes, but episode 9 wasn't there. Strange. He dismissed it, thinking it might be a rumor, but decided to stop Evan from watching the show altogether, just to be safe. The next day, when he told Evan he couldn't watch Teddy's Toy Workshop anymore, his son was inconsolable. He cried and clung to James, begging,
"But Daddy, Teddy says I'm almost done. I have to learn everything."
"Learn what, Evan?" James asked, feeling a chill run down his spine.
"Everything so he can fix me,"
Evan whispered, looking at the floor. James felt the hairs on the back of his neck rise. He brushed it off as best he could, blaming his own paranoia, but he couldn't ignore the feeling that something was terribly wrong. It was a little after midnight when James woke to the sound of the TV. The static buzzed softly, barely audible over the hum of the refrigerator. He rubbed his eyes and stumbled out of bed, assuming Evan had gotten up to watch TV, despite his protest. But when he reached the living room, he froze. The television was on, casting a dull, eerie glow across the room, and Teddy's toy workshop was playing. Teddy stood in the middle of the screen, his round, stitched eyes staring directly into the camera. "Everyone can be fixed," Teddy whispered, his voice low, almost threatening. "Even you." As James watched, paralyzed, Teddy took a slow step back, his gaze never breaking from the camera. The screen panned out, revealing a small, lifelike doll sitting on Teddy's work table. James' stomach lurched as he realized the doll looked exactly like Evan, even down to the tiniest details, including the birthmark on his cheek. In panic, James tore himself away from the screen and sprinted to Evan's room. He threw open the door and flicked on the light, his heart pounding. The bed was empty. He searched the entire house, calling Evan's name until his throat was raw. But there was no trace of him, only the quiet hum of the TV in the other room, where Teddy's whisper still echoed. "Everyone can be fixed." The police came, searched, questioned him for hours, but nothing made sense. Days turned into weeks, and there was no sign of Evan. James was left alone in that empty house, haunted by the memory of Teddy's words and the doll with Evan's face. They never found him. The case remained unsolved, so if you ever come across Teddy's Toy Workshop, don't let your kids watch episode 9.